Everyone in the office went back to work as if nothing had happened. But Mr. Kabir's silence after Ryan's insult still echoed in the air. He continued sweeping the floor, cleaning windows, and emptying bins. But in truth, he wasn't just a janitor. He was something much more. 10 years ago, Mr. Kabir had been the company's original founder. He had started the business from a small room with only 2 employees and a dream. He built it with honesty, hard work, and kindness. But after a serious illness and personal loss, he stepped away. He gave control to the board and left quietly, disappearing from the spotlight. Now he was back. But he didn't want a grand return. He wanted to see the truth with his own eyes. He chose to return as a janitor. No one recognized him. Time had changed his face. His once black hair had turned white. His back was a little bent. His eyes had aged, but still noticed everything. And he noticed Ryan the most. Ryan was the perfect actor. When the managers were around, he smiled and nodded. He used big words in meetings and always dressed sharp. But when it came to small workers, he turned cruel. He shouted at the pantry lady. He called the delivery boy slow. And he mocked the security guard for sleeping during a break. Mr. Kabir watched all this silently. Every night, he wrote notes in his small brown notebook. But not everyone was like Ryan. There was Sarah, a young intern who had just joined. She always smiled at the cleaning staff. She greeted everyone with good morning. One afternoon, Mr. Kabir dropped his cleaning cloth. Sarah picked it up and said kindly, "You do such a good job, sir. Thank you for keeping this place clean." He smiled gently. "Thank you, Beta. Not many say that." Later that day, Sarah saw Ryan scolding a peon just for bringing cold tea. She looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. Mr. Kabir noticed. He could see that fear kept people silent, and power was being misused. The next morning, Mr. Kabir walked into a nearby cafe, wearing a simple coat. He met with a quiet old friend, Mr. Ansari, a board member. "I've seen enough," Kabir said. Mr. Ansari nodded. "And what do you think?" Kabir took out the brown notebook and handed it over. Mr. Ansari opened it. Page after page, notes of staff behavior, kindness, cruelty, and truth. "Are you ready to return?" he asked. Kabir replied, "Not yet. One last test." That week, a notice was posted in the office. VIP guest from headquarters will visit for observation. People started behaving better. Even Ryan began smiling more often and saying please and thank you. But it was too late. Mr. Kabir had already seen their real faces. One evening, Ryan passed by the janitor closet. He heard Mr. Kabir talking on the phone. "We'll meet in the boardroom. I'll reveal myself tomorrow. Time to clean this company properly." Ryan froze. He waited until Mr. Kabir left and quickly opened the closet. On a shelf sat a half-open file. Inside it, documents with the name Kabir S. Malik, founder. Ryan's eyes widened in shock. His hands shook. That old janitor is the new owner. The next morning, Ryan entered the office early. He looked around, worried. Mr. Kabir entered with a calm face, holding his notebook. Ryan rushed to him. "Sir, Mr. Kabir, I didn't know who you were. I'm so sorry about the other day." Mr. Kabir looked at him, gently but firmly. "You shouldn't need to know someone's title to give them respect." He walked past. Ryan stood frozen, speechless. That day, the staff received a message. All employees must report to the conference room at 3 p.m. sharp. Something big was about to happen, and no one was ready for what they were about to hear. The office buzzed with nervous energy. Every desk was filled. Every phone was silent. At exactly 3 p.m., the staff gathered in the conference room. Managers sat in the front row. Interns and assistants stood at the back. Everyone waited. Then the door opened, and the janitor walked in. But this time, He wasn't wearing a blue cleaning uniform. He wore a sharp black suit. Behind him walked Mr. Ansari from the board. Whispers filled the room. "That's the janitor." "No, that's the founder." "Wait, what's happening?" Mr. Kabir walked to the center. He looked around calmly. Some people avoided his eyes. Some looked confused. Only a few, like Sarah, stood with quiet respect. Mr. Kabir finally spoke. "My name is Kabir S. Malik. Years ago, I built this company with honesty and care." He paused. "But I left, and I wanted to see what happened in my absence, so I returned, not as an owner, but as a worker, a janitor." Gasps filled the room. Ryan looked like he had seen a ghost. He tried to force a smile, but it faded fast. Mr. Kabir continued. "I wanted to see how people treat others when no one is watching. I wanted to see who respects those with no power." He opened his notebook. "Some of you passed this test. Some failed badly." Everyone turned toward Ryan. He shrank in his chair. Mr. Kabir didn't name him, but his message was clear. Then, Kabir turned to the whiteboard. He wrote one sentence. "True power is how you treat those who can do nothing for you." He faced the staff again. "I've seen kindness, like from a young intern who thanked me when no one else did." Sarah looked shocked, her eyes wide. "And I've seen arrogance, from people who forgot that respect has nothing to do with position." The room was silent. Then Mr. Ansari stepped forward. "As of today, Mr. Kabir resumes his role as active chairman. There will be a full review of all management behavior." Ryan's face turned pale. That evening, Ryan sat alone in his office. He stared at the notebook sketch Mr. Kabir had left for him. Just one line. "It's not too late to change." Ryan closed his eyes. His past behavior flashed in his mind. Shouting at the peon, mocking the guard, laughing at the janitor. He suddenly felt small. Meanwhile, Sarah was called to the boardroom. Mr. Kabir smiled at her. "You reminded me of someone," he said. "My younger self." He handed her an envelope. She opened it. Inside was a letter of promotion. Assistant to the director. Her eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say." Mr. Kabir placed a hand on her shoulder. "Just promise me one thing. Stay kind, even when you're on top." She nodded. Back in the office, things began to change. A notice was sent out. All employees, regardless of rank, must attend the new Respect and Empathy workshop. Everyone. Even the top managers. No one could skip it. Some laughed. Some complained. But Ryan? He quietly signed up. In the days that followed, staff started acting differently. The cleaners were greeted with smiles. The pantry lady was offered help carrying trays. And Ryan? He stopped yelling. He started listening. He even cleaned up his own coffee spill one morning and apologized to the janitor. Mr. Kabir watched from a distance. He didn't expect perfection, just progress. As the sun set one evening, he looked out the office window. He saw Sarah helping a delivery boy carry boxes. He saw Ryan holding the door open for the cleaner. And for the first time in years, he smiled with peace in his heart. It had only been a few days since Mr. Kabir revealed who he really was. But everything in the office felt different now. People walked a little straighter. Smiles were more real. Voices were softer. For the first time, even the cleaning staff were spoken to with respect. And at the heart of all this change was the man they once thought was just the janitor. Mr. Kabir now sat in the chairman's office. The same office he had built 20 years ago. The same office that once held his dreams. On the table was the same wooden nameplate. Kabir S. Malik, founder. He ran his fingers across it and closed his eyes. But this wasn't the time to rest. It was time to rebuild the company, not just in structure, but in spirit. The first thing he did was call a meeting. Not with the managers, but with the cleaning staff, peons, guards, pantry workers, and drivers. They sat in the boardroom for the first time ever, uncomfortable, unsure. Mr. Kabir stood in front of them with folded hands. "I came back to find out if my company still had a heart," he said. "And I found that many of you kept it beating, even when others forgot." He paused. His voice turned emotional. "I'm sorry I left you in a place where respect became rare." One janitor wiped his eyes. A pantry lady whispered, "No one's ever thanked us before." Mr. Kabir smiled. "From now on, you'll never be invisible again." He gave the new uniforms. Clean, professional, proud, better restrooms, lunch breaks with dignity. And most of all, respect. Later that week, another message was sent out. "Tomorrow, company address by the chairman, mandatory for all staff." Everyone gathered in the auditorium. Ryan sat in the third row, silent, nervous. Sarah sat near the front, holding a notebook. At 10 o'clock sharp, Mr. Kabir stepped on stage. No microphone, no slides, just a quiet man with a strong voice. He looked around the hall and began. "When I started this company, we had no money, but we had something stronger, character." He took a slow breath. "Somewhere along the way, we lost it. We started valuing titles more than people, suits more than souls." He paused. The room was completely still. "But now, it's time to fix that." Mr. Kabir told them what he saw during his days as a janitor. He spoke of kindness and cruelty, of moments that touched his heart and moments that broke it. He didn't name anyone, but everyone knew who he meant, especially Ryan. Then Mr. Kabir said something no one expected. "There will be no mass firing. I believe in change. I believe in second chances." Eyes widened. Even Ryan looked up, surprised. But Kabir continued, "Second chances are only valuable if we use them, if we grow." He looked directly at Ryan for a moment, just 1 second. But the message was clear. Ryan lowered his eyes. After the speech, something strange happened. The staff clapped, not because they were told to, but because they meant it. It wasn't just applause, it was hope. That evening, Ryan walked out of the office and saw Mr. Kabir in the parking lot. He hesitated, then walked over slowly. "Sir," Ryan said softly, "can I talk to you?" Mr. Kabir turned and nodded. Ryan looked down. "I was wrong about a lot of things." There was silence. "I grew up thinking success meant being above people. But now I see, real success is being kind, even when you don't have to." Mr. Kabir placed a hand on Ryan's shoulder. "Learning that is the first step." From that day forward, changes weren't just made by Mr. Kabir. They were made by everyone. And slowly, the company became something greater than before. A place where respect wasn't based on rank. A place where kindness led the way. Days turned into weeks, and the company kept changing. People noticed it felt lighter, like a place they actually wanted to be. But for Ryan, it wasn't so easy. Even though Mr. Kabir had given him a second chance, he couldn't stop thinking about his past actions. He had hurt people, not just with words, but with pride. And now, that guilt followed him like a shadow. One day, as Ryan walked into the cafeteria, a junior staff member moved away quietly. Another looked down and avoided his eyes. It wasn't hate. It was fear, the kind he had once spread. And now, it was coming back to him. In a meeting later that day, Ryan gave a presentation. His words were clear, but no one asked questions. No one smiled. He realized the truth. Respect can't be forced. It must be earned. That night, Ryan stayed back in the office. He sat at his desk and opened a folder filled with old complaints, all written by staff about him. Most were unsigned, anonymous, but the pain in the words was real. "He embarrassed me in front of everyone. He said I was useless because I made one mistake. He laughed when I cried." Ryan's eyes filled with tears. He shut the folder and buried his face in his hands. The next morning, he made a decision. He walked to the janitor's corner. Mr. Kabir was not there, but the new janitor, a young man named Fahim, was cleaning the glass doors. Ryan walked up, nervous. "Good morning," Ryan said gently. Fahim looked surprised. "Good morning, sir." Ryan paused, then took a deep breath. "Would you? Let me help you for a bit." Fahim looked confused. "Sir, I'm okay. You don't need to." Ryan gave a small smile. "Maybe I do." For the next 15 minutes, Ryan helped clean the doors. Staff passing by stopped and stared. Some whispered, some smiled. And Mr. Kabir, watching from the hallway, said nothing. But in his eyes was pride. Later that day, Ryan walked into the common area. He saw the pantry lady, Mrs. Nasreen, sitting on a chair, looking tired. He gently walked over. "Ma'am," he said, "I realized I never said thank you for all the tea and for your patience." She looked up in shock. Then slowly she smiled. "Some people never change, but you might be different." That evening, Ryan knocked on Mr. Kabir's office door. "Come in," the voice said. Ryan entered, holding a small box. He placed it on the table. "What's this?" Mr. Kabir asked. "It's a resignation letter," Ryan said softly. "But also something more." Mr. Kabir opened the box. Inside was a short note and a list of names. The note read, "These are the people I owe apologies to. I've said sorry to some. I'll find the others." Mr. Kabir looked at him carefully. "You don't have to resign," he said. Ryan shook his head. "I think I need to. Not as a punishment, but as a lesson. I want to start over, somewhere new, with clean hands and a better heart." Mr. Kabir nodded slowly. "That takes courage." The next day, Ryan called a small meeting. He stood before the team, this time not as their leader, but just as Ryan. "I've made many mistakes," he said. "I won't ask you to forget them. But I do want you to know I'm trying to become someone better." He bowed his head and walked out of the room. No applause, no hugs, just silence. But in that silence, there was respect. Real this time. A few weeks later, Ryan started a job at a smaller company. He didn't walk in with a big title. He didn't wear his expensive watch. He walked in with something far more powerful, humility. And with that, he began again. Meanwhile, back at the company, Mr. Kabir had one more plan. A way to honor all those who had been ignored. The company had changed, not just in rules, but in heart. Everywhere you looked, people were smiling more, helping more, listening more. But Mr. Kabir knew one thing very clearly. True change is only real when the quiet ones are honored. The ones who never ask for attention. The ones who serve and are often forgotten. So one morning, he sent out a notice. "This Friday at 11 a.m., special event in the lobby. Everyone must attend." No one knew what it was about. There were no posters, no teasers, only a quiet excitement in the air. Friday arrived. At 10:55 a.m., the staff gathered in the main lobby. From the CEO to the drivers, from new interns to cleaning staff, everyone stood side by side. Then the curtain dropped, and there it was, a giant wall. Clean, white, and filled with names, dozens of them. At the top, bold letters read, "The Wall of Respect. For those who serve with heart." Gasps filled the room. People stepped forward to read the names. Mrs. Nasreen, the tea lady. Shahid, the security guard. Rani, the office cleaner. Waqas, the peon who always worked late. Even interns like Sarah were there. Next to each name was a small photo and a few kind words written by someone from the company. One line said, "She always smiled, even when tired. Her smile made my day better." Another, "He picked up trash others left behind. No one noticed, but I did." And then, people began to cry. Not from sadness, but from being seen. Mr. Kabir stood in front. "I once built this company with bricks and wires," he said. "But I forgot the strongest material: gratitude." He looked across the room. These names on the wall, they held this company together when we forgot what kindness was. He paused. "Today, we don't just say thank you, we mean it." Then he handed each person on the wall a gold badge. It said, "With respect, forever honored." Tears flowed freely. Mrs. Nasreen held her badge like it was gold. Shahid, the guard, stood tall for the first time in years. Later that day, Sarah wrote in her journal, "I used to think power came from position. But today I learned, real power comes from humility." Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. Ryan returned, not to ask for his job back, just to attend the event, quietly, standing at the back. When he saw the wall of respect, he froze. There, on the bottom corner, was his own name. Not big, just small. But the note under it read, "He made mistakes, but he had the courage to admit them." Ryan's eyes filled with tears. He turned away quickly so no one would see. As he walked out, Mr. Kabir met him at the door. "You didn't have to come," he said softly. Ryan smiled. "I didn't want to miss it." Mr. Kabir nodded. "There's one more badge left." Ryan looked surprised. "For me?" Mr. Kabir shook his head. "No, for someone you'll meet one day. Someone who'll need to learn what you did." He placed the badge in Ryan's hand. "Pass it on when the time is right." That night, the office felt different. Warmer, lighter, better. Because now, everyone understood. Titles don't build companies. People do. And those people deserve to be seen. Months passed. The company had changed. But more importantly, the people had changed. Now, when someone walked into the building, they could feel it. Warmth, respect, unity. The wall of respect became a symbol. New names were added every month. And slowly, something beautiful happened. People stopped chasing power and started chasing purpose. Mr. Kabir often sat by the wall in the evening. He would watch people read the names, smile, and feel inspired. One evening, Sarah joined him. "Sir," she asked gently, "do you ever regret pretending to be a janitor?" He smiled. "No, it was the only way to truly see the soul of this place." She nodded. "And now?" Mr. Kabir looked up at the ceiling, then back at her. "Now it has a soul again." Meanwhile, Ryan had started working at a small firm in a nearby city. He wasn't a manager anymore, just part of a team. But something was different about him. He listened more. He thanked more. He helped without being asked. One day, a new intern spilled tea on the conference table. She panicked. Everyone looked at her. Ryan stood up, grabbed tissues, and smiled. "Don't worry. We've all been there." He helped her clean it up. No anger. No ego. Just kindness. That night, he took out the gold badge Mr. Kabir had given him, the one meant to be passed on. He looked at it and whispered, "Almost time." Back at the old company, Sarah was now leading a new training program for fresh hires. It wasn't about finance or marketing. It was called How to Treat People Right. Simple lessons, big hearts. Mr. Kabir watched with pride. He knew it was time for him to step back, for real this time. He called one final meeting, the same way he had once done as a janitor. Now, as the respected founder once more. In the meeting room, he stood before his staff. His voice was steady, calm. "Years ago, I built this company with money," he said, "but it was rebuilt by your hearts." He looked around the room. "And now, it's time for me to say goodbye." Gasps filled the air. He raised his hand gently. "Not because I'm tired, but because I know this place is in good hands." He announced Sarah as the new head of culture and people. a role that didn't exist before. But now, the most important one. Sarah stood up, eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, sir, for seeing me." Mr. Kibir nodded. "You saw others first. That's true leadership." His final message was printed and framed next to the wall of respect. It read, "If you want to grow a company, build a product. But if you want to grow people, build a culture of kindness." Kabir S. Malik. A few weeks later, Ryan visited the company again. He didn't wear a suit, just a smile. He walked up to a young man standing alone, nervous, unsure. The man dropped his file while adjusting his tie. People walked past. Ryan bent down, picked it up, and handed it to him. "Here," he said kindly. "You'll be fine." He paused, then took out the gold badge. "I was told to give this to someone who's ready to learn with heart." The young man looked confused. Ryan smiled. "You'll understand one day." And just like that, the badge moved on. The lesson lived on. And the spirit of kindness became the strongest part of the company.